Welcome, everybody. We're here at this council workshop this evening regarding nonprofit policies for funding. All right, council, have you had the opportunity to look at what the city secretary said to us? Yes. No. Yes.
Well, I see the agenda.
Yeah.
That's why,
The policy that we looked at back and was it October?
It was first visited on January 7th, 2005, when the previous city manager created the draft, presented to the council. And subsequently, after an increase in funding request, on October 7th, 2025, the council, you actually, Karen, you requested that this be added, and so we put this from the council again. The council discussed it at that time and just decided to schedule a dedicated workshop.
Thank you. So yes, if I recall correctly, based on the information that we have in our packet, that the council wanted to look at it again well in advance of budget season, so that we can have this in place with any changes that we wanted to put on it or add to it. And that way the nonprofits could apply as we're going through the budget for 2026. Okay, so I'm gonna open it up first to Councilmember Stevens. He indicated that he's already read through it.
Yes, so, my comments were 90%. I'm not seeing any substantive changes. The organizations we currently fund, that the price is somewhere where it should come somewhere. And now I'm going to try to put that thousand this year, not Simpson. And it's not clear to me what are the criteria used for selection, or how those organizations stack against it. If we were to say, it's the policy we adopted, how at least three organizations fit in there, and how would others look? Because there is no weighting criteria, it's just kind of a generalized data. My concern is we're gonna have every 501 city.
Okay, so bouncing off of yours, I noted that the criteria that we have here on page 10 of 179, the basic public safety, disaster, et cetera, that the Family Crisis Center would fit that. The maybe under 4 needs and services for people with lower incomes, needs and services for elderly.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, that's okay.
Is
But we might want to add more, and then I did make a note that we don't have anything written here for children. So the Children's Advocacy Center would have trouble, I think, meet those 6 criteria unless today we decide that we want to adjust that. And the public library would fit under number 6, but I did look at that as well as you. How would these stack up?
I think domestic violence could fall easily close with that crisis center.
If we were to add that,
children? That's in my mind, that's where, that's why it's an advocacy issue.
so if we were to make a adjustment, I think we would need to probably add that as one of our criteria. But as Councilmember Stevens said, there's other work we need today to come up with what time periods and what other items do you guys see?
So let me just talk about how we do hot. Hot funding, we might do well with talk to Chris Ruja to come and give a recommendation and share with the council how we do a hot funding allocation. There are very specific criteria, scoring, and how the hot committee goes through. Because I think in the end, since we're the ones gonna have to make the decision, we're gonna have to think our way through how to evaluate that, make those decisions. Hot committee, they got 8 members, 10 members on hot committee. That, so hot committee, we spend probably 4 or 5 hours going through those every year. And we go through like 30 applications. And whenever it's all said and done, it's, I got it, well aligned, we agree, and that's what I'm supposed to. So we might be well served by asking Chris to say, if we're gonna look at 501c3s, then what model criteria look like? And then the other thing I would look at is how many 501c3s do we have in the city of Alpine? That, and how would we rank and stack it amongst our criteria? To me, it's almost like, it's gonna take a look. I got a note today on the Alpine Cemetery, wants money. Like, that's interesting, that's so not for profit, and people pay services, and it's not city limits. And so, you're gonna get inundated. Just,
I think having the, page 10, public safety and disaster relief, basic needs for veterans and services, needs and services for elderly, basic needs and services for people with lower incomes, community beautification and upkeep. I don't know if you guys want to keep that. Educational resources and assistance. But as Gio said, we need to make sure we have something in there if we're going to continue donating to the Children's Advocacy Center that would fit that, such as domestic. But how did you word that?
Domestic violence and assault.
Yeah, and then on page 5 or 12 of 179, applicants must be registered nonprofits in good standing. It must have demonstrated a measurable positive impact on Alpine residents. Proposals must align with grant programs, priority focus listed above, which I am assuming this document means back to 1.1 on page 10 of 179. And applicants must have served at least, and there's a blank in order to use this language to fill in. Where did this document come from, Gio? I'm gonna look that back in October too.
To my knowledge, Megan drafted it, might have had a template or something, I'm not sure, but it was the prior city manager who put it together.
Yeah, and then the application process here says it's gonna be available on the city website, and then submission deadline by specified due date, so council would need to decide when do we want these. Yeah, when do we want this? And then what I did like is, remember how we've had people come to us asking for funding, but yet they're only coming to the city and nobody else. So on 3.3, page 12 of 179, number 3, it does say details of additional funding sources if applicable. So in their application, we have to give that.
Do they have to require all the 6 or at least one of it?
One of them, unless we want to change it. The question is, what criteria do we want? Do we like 1 through 6 on page 3 plus, or page, 10 of 179? And do we like 1 through 4 on 3.2, page 12? Do we want to combine those? Do we want to add to it? And then I agree with Councilmember Stevens, we should look at what is already be done with the hot funds and their application, because we will go through it. We won't have a committee for this, but we will go through those applications and we know how to score it. But we also need to have it set up, because 1 through 6 and 1 through 4 prevent us from having Sally's nonprofit providing ornaments for whatever from applying, so that we're not inundated.
Do we have anybody that is a community, the community verifications?
I know the county has the Ladies of the Lawn. We have a group of ladies, I don't remember which organization they are, that maintain the railroad park over there across from, yeah, and Vice Coffee. They maintain that. I don't know if they're listed as being under a certain organization or what.
So I would eliminate 1, 2, and 5.
On which one? Page 10 of 179?
Yes, ma'am, page 10. I'm a vet. My reaction is, if I let veteran services, I'm not going to the city here.
You're gonna go to the VA.
I'm going to
VA or even the American
Yeah,
Legion,
there's
which I have an
a ton of
announcement
out
for them tonight, yeah.
I'll eliminate public safety and disaster relief assistance. Those tend to be individual events that occur. That's gonna be special. We're not. gonna do those.
FEMA,
Yeah, we're gonna do those in annual basis. And eliminate community communication upkeep. There's enough out there. So to me, it's needs for the elderly, lower income, domestic violence, and, educational resource and assistance like the library.
I agree
Those are
with
the
that.
things.
And as long as y'all agree that domestic violence is gonna cover the Children's Advocacy Center, which
That's really important.
do you think it would? I mean. could there
Well,
be a
that's why I
council-
wanted assault, because the ones that the domestic violence and assault, because the children that they're dealing with have been assaulted.
Okay, I just wanna set it up so that a council 6 years from now.
Yeah.
Or 7 years from now won't say, oh, well, they don't fit this criteria.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
And my question is, what is the criteria to say, okay, this only can get 5,000, or this only can get 9, or now we're giving more? So.
what's the
how can we-
criteria for
yes,
dollar
how we
amount?
Control that, you know, if somebody has been getting 5,000, somebody has been getting 45, so. So how can they can go to increase the amount?
Yeah, where did these numbers come from?
Yeah.
I know
That's
the
what I'm-
library number came from, most times libraries are run by municipalities.
Mhm.
And the city of Alpine doesn't run our library, so we just agreed to support them, kind of like the fire department.
Mhm.
You know, we've always donated to them. That's my understanding of why they got the 45K. What's your understanding,
So
Councilmember
that's
Steve?
exactly it. So. the Library and the city have agreed to fund it. They've sponsored it since the beginning. Library budgets today are like $380,000. So to the city of the county, we provide 89,000. They have to raise the rest of it.
Wow.
They raise the donations and everything else to the library. But because, to your point, we don't have a public library. It's called the Alpine Public Library, but it's a nonprofit, and we help fund it.
So that's why they get so much.
Yep.
The other two, I'm not sure how that dollar amount is set, and it may just be based on budgets from year to year, but and the particular council that's sitting here. So is that something that we want in this policy, or do we want to leave it up to each individual council and what the budget is for that year?
My sense is we ought to set the budget at the beginning of the year. Part of our budget allocation, process, that's what we're talking about, budget, and then we can have what percentage sort of rate, it, almost like we do hot funding. In hot funding, they set aside a certain percentage, the state actually sets that, but the limits, and we have to say, here's the range. Which then council can go allocate based upon that range, based upon the budget. Makes sense.
So when is that? Is that May? Is that April? Is that,
So budget process, we will start in the April, May.
April?
timeframe.
yeah, so April,
At the
May?
latest,
All made and all.
city start pretty early.
Now, when do we ask for hot funds?
So last year we started early. We did, I think, a preliminary meeting in March and we opened the application window in April, although it historically had happened in May. But it was like March to April for applications, and the top committee met, I think, on the 15th of May, a week later on the 21st or so.
Yeah.
To kind of go through that and move it forward to city council on, and went a little earlier last year.
Would that time frame work? Yes, then.
Yes, I would say that. No. Maybe we give like a month for the application process.
Right, by May, we should have a good sense of how our budget is looking for the upcoming fiscal year.
Ideally.
And what these, non-profit organizations that were already helping, what they need to do, so if they need to ask for more or less, or continue helping, what do they need to
In
do?
an application, right? Isn't that what they do with hot funds?
So
From my
that's
understanding,
all in the application.
they ask for
Uh,
certain
yeah, and-
amounts.
no different than we're talking about here. They look at all their funding sources. We look at their total budget. We look at the percents to be allocated to their hot funds, we look at advertising. And then we look at the criteria, the 9 criteria for hot funding, where they fit. And we rack and stack in the hot committee. The members actually go through and score from 0 to 100 in each of the categories. Then they add up and say, here's our priorities. This last year, I think we gave out 200 and maybe almost $200,000, and the request was like for $600,000. So the hot committee had to work their way through to find a settlement and make a recommendation to us for it.
On my understanding, before it was the city manager who decided how much was it, and if they needed us for more, so, well, you should be happy that we give you this, that's all that we can give you, so.
So council has always been approval. We have to do it as part of our budget. So the city manager made the recommendation, what is being proposed is we go through a formal application process, so we're more engaged. Council.
So that it's more transparent there,
That's exactly.
because they meet these criteria, we already scratched out 3 that we don't want, and have added 1 that we do want.
Yep.
But we need to continue. Is there anything else that you see as far as criteria, council, that you would want to add to the application process? So right now we have basic needs and services for elderly.
Yep.
Basic needs and services for people with low income. Educational resources, domestic violence and assault. We have, must be registered nonprofit in good standing with the relevant state and federal regulatory authorities. Nonprofit must demonstrate a measurable positive impact on Alpine residents. Proposals must align with what we just read a while ago, elderly assault. Applicants must have served at least, and this is our blank, residents or demonstrated community-wide benefit.
Is that like is years or people you're thinking or?
I would think it's, in my brain thought of it as a percentage. I don't know how you guys thought of it.
I would actually strike. Blank resident, Alpine residents, because frankly, Family Crisis Center.
Right.
It's not sort of a high percentage, but those that are in need, they need it. So I think applicants must serve. Or must have demonstrated community-wide benefit, period. And let's sort that out, because I hate to exclude Family Crisis Center, because population's so small, they're so low, but they need it.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and I'm sure, they have it from Jeff Davis County. When I worked at Fort Davis ISD,
Yep.
Presidio County, and then even down south, Terlingua, but that,
Yeah.
when we say Alpine resident, we exclude, or another council can interpret it as excluding Turlet South Brewster County.
Well, that's why I was going to say, I make it applicants must serve or demonstrated a community-wide benefit. That opens it up and that does not restrict. Because as you thought, Family Crisis Center, it serves 6 counties. We're gonna look and say you serve 6 counties, we serve an Alpine, and which other plenty for the locations, because they got a broad base.
Any other recommendations on the criteria and the other criteria basically? So, City Secretary, we're looking right now at criteria as being page 10 of 179. Up there at the top, 1 through 6, where Councilmember Stevens recommended scratching out 1, 2, and 5, and then also here on page 12 of 179. It says 3.2 eligibility criteria, those should all go together.
And then we might add for lack of a term, a draft evaluation form that we will look at, so that people are looking, say, here's what we council are looking at, that has a score sheet. That's what I asked Chris for small. Chris, you've been hot funding for a long time. Help us out, give us a draft, which, if you're looking at this and City Road, give us a draft form.
City Secretary, could you send an email to Chris and ask him to email that to all of council and to you guys?
And we're talking about an evaluation form.
Yeah, an evaluation form for their hot taxes so that we can come up with one for this policy for us.
So in the future, if anybody other than these 3 wanted to apply, they will have to follow all these criteria also, so they can qualify. Because when you present them to us, like, the half funds, all the people that they apply, so they will present it to us.
And I would think for the ones we already support, that's easy, they can talk to us like once a quarter. Don comes in, Family Crisis Center comes in, they've got a ton of data.
Yes, yeah. So this would not apply to the fire department. This would not apply to Country Club. Is there anything, right?
So that's the question. So
I should.
my notes, I said, country club, because we don't give them any money, but we certainly give them free water and land. And so that's a question. The other thing I wrote down is, what if they get hotline? So for example, Cowboy Poetry, they're 501c3.
Right.
I don't think we want to fund Cowboy Poetry out of city resources that are for nonprofits, even though they're not for profit. Because they get nothing.
Yeah, cause they could very well say they're educational.
They would, so I might put, the intent is not to fund organizations that receive hot funding through this.
Well, they say somewhere here that somebody is already getting help with the city, those don't apply. They don't
Oh, does it?
apply. Yeah.
I,
Where's that at, Evan?
yeah,
I
okay,
agree.
175.
Yeah. Cause I remember that I wrote that and I make my notes.
I just. So it somewhere needs to be there, those who get hot funding do not apply.
I agree with that. What about you guys? Do y'all think that's fair?
Explain.
City Secretary, would you make a note of that while we continue looking to see if it's already in here?
So just a quick question, what about like, well, you know, I always go kind of this way. What about our sports and recreation for all the kids? Where does this fall on anything with them? Like Big Bend Little League, Big Bend Amateur Softball Association, the soccer, I don't know what it's called, BBAYSO. Oh, they're all nonprofits, aren't they? They're the organizations.
Yeah.
Would we? Cause I know that we were talking about the hot funds that day, you know, with, yeah, the park, I mean, all of that area, I mean. Where does that fall? You know, cause I don't see anything, I mean, I know we're talking about like the Children's Advocacy Center and things like that, but what about? Sports recreation for, you know, for all the kids that are here, cause like I, you know, I mentioned all the time, I mean, that's all we've got.
Right. So
Or
you're wanting to make sure that they can apply,
They can
is what
apply.
you're saying?
if we have to.
So. The category. Children's sports recreation.
Because there are times when, I mean, they don't, I mean, they kinda, they've never really come up and asked for money, but, and I know talking to a lot of these organizations, I mean, they don't have it, and they, you know, sometimes do need some help. And, you know, and I know that we were talking about that one day about the hot funds and what we had to do to get all that kind of thrown into the whole deal, you know? And I know they brought up that, well, how much, how much money revenue would it bring into the city, but how do we know if none of our facilities are even up to code or, up to date with anything, and that's what I was trying to say, like, we don't know that number because it hadn't happened in years since I was young, So, and I mean, that was just kind of in my mind going, okay, well, we got Children's Advocacy Center, but what about the youth, other things that we got going on, I know the public library's got the reading and all the stuff, that covers all of that, but what about, again, the sports and recreation? Part of it?
So do we want to add that then as a fifth?
That would-
Yeah, okay, so City Secretary, can you add that as a fifth category?
What you asked me, Rick, is in the page 10 that it said policy does not apply to organizations already under contract with the city to provide specific services.
So, no,
Oh, no, they don't apply.
Where?
no, that is,
Oh,
so hot funds,
Page 10,
that is not a contract. Hot funds are not a contract, that's a grant, so I think hot funds, that needs to be listed. So if I have a not-for-profit that provides services to the city, I wouldn't be able to apply through this, because that's a separate contract. I would definitely find those who receive hot funds would not apply.
and you got that, all right, City Secretary.
Yes, those who receive hot funding may not apply. And
Yeah, that's my view, but
more of those who receive hot funding will be ineligible.
there you go, ineligible.
Yeah, maybe there on page 10 of 179, it says this policy does not apply.
Yeah.
To,
Organizations,
yeah,
there you go.
if you still want to use this basic template.
And that was where?
On page 10 of 179.
Oh.
Under this policy does not apply to
Organizations receiving hotel occupancy tax funding.
Yep. Yep.
So may I ask, Mr. Arredondo, it's been, I mean, you've been, said you've been doing a lot of this stuff for a long time.
So, one of the things with this policy is, like, if you wanna stimulate something, or if you wanna direct some resources, kind of like the three that you already have. It's good. On the hot funds, I've seen it where a city's gonna, the Little League's gonna hold a regional tournament. Parents are gonna be coming in, they're gonna be, hotel space, you know, they're gonna spend at the fueling of cars and all that. And they come to council, hey, well, we need $5,000, can you help us? And then council makes a decision, okay, you know, we can give you some hot funds for this type of, event.
So I think our hot funding policy allows it. That's all I do. But I think to your point, no one's ever come forward. And because it's, haven't gotten to the past, didn't understand it, but yeah, the hot fund, so long as it puts heads of beds, no problem. We easily put skin where it's hot funding.
Okay.
If you're the rodeo.
Yeah.
Well, the rodeo does, I gotta get hot funding.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so let's continue. I mean, we're having a great discussion. Let's see what else we need to think about and adjust. Did we had a chance to look at items and you have some notes? Okay, go ahead. Okay, because we've all spoken.
Sorry for being late, I don't know what you all may or may not have covered. I was gonna see, you know, I know, what is it, I think it's 3.5.
Page 12 of
Page 13 or
179. Okay, okay.
Kind of is like real vague, so I was just wondering, you know, what y'all's idea was as far as like the funding cap. Like, I know with hot funds, it's based off of what's brought in, and then everything has percentages. So for our non-profit organizations, are we gonna look at just whatever comes in? If it gets approved, that's what we're gonna amend our budget at? Or are we looking at a set number every year for our budget that we're gonna approve, and then whoever's applying is gonna get whatever their respective percentage or piece of that total pie, if you will?
So hot funding is set differently because
Right.
we, as you point out, it's based upon the projected revenue that comes in from hotel
Yes,
use.
and then we're dictated on what percentage we have to spend.
This is gonna be up to us to set. the-
Right, and that's what I'm asking, like, how are we looking at doing it? If you all haven't discussed, or we want,
I think that's,
You know,
we're talking about the budget process.
okay.
By the time we do the budget, we're trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Right now, we're allocating, my recollection, Victoria, you can say I'm full of it as normal, not that you would say that, but I'm full of it.
There.
You know, we're probably allocating in the neighborhood of $60,000.
Right.
So we have to decide,
So we're gonna copy and paste maybe.
we're gonna figure out how much money we got.
Okay, and so that's where I was at, and then going into my next bracket, if we did do it that way, are we gonna do it kind of like, I really am impressed with the way our hot funds committee does that process. It's very in-depth, and I love the way they kind of score everything. Are we gonna adopt something like that? Is what y'all are thinking?
So we asked, we're gonna ask Chris to come back and share with council how the hot committee does it, so there's a template to use. And in my view, that'd be a very part of the discussion line.
You're gonna ask him to email that to us.
Okay. And then. Let's see, we have it in here where it says measurable impact. And it doesn't really define.
What page we find?
I'm sorry, I went through it earlier and just wrote down a bunch of notes of what I could.
Oh, probably page
So
12.
measurable, we're gonna have Chris to give us his score sheet as well.
How we measures it, right? I was just saying, so once we get that score sheet, are we gonna define it into this based off of what that scoring criteria is gonna be?
Might be one.
I mean, that makes sense to me. That sounds like a good idea.
And it will also help those who apply, even in having that, staff.
Yeah. Absolutely. See, and then are we thinking about us doing the scoring, or are we gonna have a staff member? score it and then bring it to us when we have this meeting to start allocating funds where it's all pre-scored already, so we don't have to sit there and go through all of this criteria during our 1 hour workshop or have multiple workshops. It's something that we've thought about, like how the
I think so far we've
hot fuzz.
decided, or we thought that it'd be city council scoring it, so it's not something else that burdens the staff.
Sure.
We-
Gio has so much free time.
Oh, now he does, go back to college.
And then we have a little bit experience, so then you sitting there.
So that was our thought, of course, that's open for discussion, council.
In my view, if we're gonna have a group do it, we ought to appoint a committee to go do it and have us represented, otherwise we're just not through.
I think it's better for us to go through it, it's really hard to keep on committees. I mean,
Now, I think they like to meet twice a year.
I think we could do it,
I think,
at
yeah.
least 1 or 2, maybe 3 workshops.
Good work.
We still want to select before questions.
And then, I only have 2 more things, I'm sorry. But we thought about any kind of like clawback or enforcement mechanisms into this, so if somebody's misallocated funding or something like that, it's not just like, oh, we're not gonna be giving you funding, next year, it's like, no, you're gonna repay that money that you misappropriated or what have you.
And then what teeth do we have if we tell them we're gonna repay it?
Right, and so that's where,
I don't know, I think that's a very
I
good
know.
idea, I like that idea,
I was
but
reading legally, we could do it.
We
based on
could.
Contract, for sure, but, I just didn't know if that's something we were thinking about doing, I don't know if that would. Well, I know, after this first year coming into this and going through it once, none of our nonprofit organizations that are currently applying for it have by any means done any of this, and they're doing great things. But I didn't know if it's something we wanted to preemptively do that to deter maybe more people when it becomes a streamlined process of applying for this kind of stuff.
thoughts? Councilmember Portillo?
I agree. If we implement something. then we'll go with it.
Councilmember Martinez?
What about in that direction to establish, guidelines so it can be easier for us to decide who and how much they qualify, that's why we're going to put according with the budget, the standards, how much. That was my question, because you got here, how come, children advocacy center get 5 and, the library get 45, so. So what is the standard, so we have to have.
Do you agree
Mhm.
with? And Councilmember Stevens?
Watching on an interesting discussion, but where does we go?
I think so. Now, we're gonna require, I can't remember, because I read this Saturday. We're requiring them to present to us, right? As we require,
Yeah,
it says that in here,
Yes.
somebody saw it.
I'm sure we have a dialogue, discussion, we can score and go from there.
Mr. Arredondo,
Mhm.
all this is new for us, who has some of experience in read, he has been several times in the city council, so.
No, I've seen other cities, do this.
The rest of
especially-
them were
Yeah.
new.
What are your thoughts on what Councilmember Lucas just said?
I think, some of these not, 501(c)s, they're not gonna have the resources. So maybe they already spent the money, so maybe, it's hard to. If you wanna draw them back and they already spent the money, they don't have to pay it back. How do you want them to pay it back?
Yeah. I was doing a little bit of reading, it's like, we do repayment clauses for misuse or, non-performance. We do, right to suspend funding, which in our case wouldn't really help, because I think we're just doing a lump payment
Right.
at first, right?
Every year,
Yeah.
they would apply.
Or we can have a disqualification period, because I understand, just because you're a nonprofit, you had one bad apple in there, that may have misappropriated or misused funding or something like that, doesn't mean that leadership could change somewhere down the road. And so there's, the period of 3 years, you can't reapply, automatically disqualify or something like that. Or some of the ones that I'd read.
You know, the library gets paid out over periods.
So do they.
Yeah. It might be, to your point, The larger ones, if they had over a certain period of time, it's a certain X, they have one.
Sure. So those would be ones that we could suspend funding that.
We have in here that it's annual, correct?
I believe so.
There's an annual application. If not, let's make sure that's in there.
And then the last one I had was something that came up, and I can't remember who addressed it, but it did. Was local versus regional nonprofits, and I know some of them are just here in this area, and some of them, you know, serve multiple counties. And, once it was it, you break that in. Problems that you were asking, who else is paying in and how much are they paying in? So
Yes, it's here.
so-
Yeah.
Details of additional funding.
Yeah, yeah. And so I just wanted to see like what y'all's ideas were on how, you know, maybe would handle that moving forward, or what our requirements would be moving forward for something.
So we add in there part of the process, we don't know where else. What's the budget? They just go on.
And are we looking at doing, you know? I mean, I guess it would get really in depth, right? Like based off of how much of your budget is being allocated to this local areas, depending on how much we're going to give you that percentage. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so,
That'll be in our scoring rubric.
Right.
yeah, because
We'll
I
make sure
give
it's in
you
here.
two examples, we currently fund Family Crisis Center gets dollars from across 6 counties, okay? Yeah. Plus the
Children-
city.
Children's advocacy, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, children's, yeah. The library gets its funding from the county and from the city, because that's what serves.
Right.
And out of its, roughly, I was saying earlier, $80,000-$90,000 a kids, that's total bunch of neighborhood, $32,000. West State all fundraiser grant rates. So those are all the things that can happen in this process as we think about it. Where do you get funding, local, where do you get all the other funding from other folks? So we're gonna let through.
Yeah.
Did you have something else?
No, man, those makes sense. I'm sorry.
No.
Good stuff.
Let's look at the application. There's an application attached to this to see what needs to be struck out, what needs to be added, so that we have at least a rough draft of where we're going. This is gonna need another workshop. I'm sure once we get Chris's rubric, and maybe invite him in on that
Yeah.
second
I will,
workshop.
yeah,
But let's look at the application now, Kelly.
I don't think it's good, this has enough information, detail where you can look at.
It does or does not?
Does not.
Does not.
And Chris is gonna help solve the problem.
Maybe also get the application that they fill out for, can he send that to for the hot funds? The application and the scoring rubric, so that we can work on our application. Number 4 on page 16 of 179, that's once again very specific to just Alpine. We'd probably like to change that wording. Or no?
To Brewster County or the Tri-County residents, is that what you're talking about?
No, because we were thinking of the children's advocacy and family crisis, because these are multiple.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, they still are gonna affect our
Right.
local area, and that, I mean, I don't want to speak out. Yeah, I was about to say, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I mean, as much as I care about our surrounding area, I really do. My main focus is to work through representatives, make sure that my constituents in this local area directly being affected. Instead of just the surrounding area.
What about number 5 on page 16 of 179? Because it seems like that directly relates to what y'all said to take out.
And I think it's good, me personally, I think it's a good metric to have on it. And I know that the advocacy center and system, they give us numbers when they come in here, which is always impressive to me. And also unfortunate with some of the numbers that we have presented to us, but I definitely think they'll have those numbers to be able to give to us.
Do we want to also just have number of individuals served? Because I'm just thinking back to number 4 on page 12 of 179 before you came in. council said to take out applicants must have served at least blank Alpine residents. And just put applicants must demonstrate a community-wide benefit.
Yeah.
So do we also on number 5 wanna have an additional part to that question to say how many individuals community-wide have been served?
So it's inclusive to like a new organization perhaps.
Right,
Okay.
to align with what we've done under our eligibility criteria.
This way.
Would you add that, please, City Secretary?
Yes.
So not just Alpine, we want Alpine, but we also want community-wide. So we were asking them to give us proof of the nonprofit status, such as the IRS determination letter. We're asking them to give the most recent financial statements. This is on page 17 of 179. We're asking for detailed project program budget. We're asking for a list of the board of directors and key staff. Do those sound good? Is there something else that we want?
In my opinion, I'm just gonna wait till Chris comes out, these are not sad the most. I'm not sure, I can't recall.
Are smart enough. Stop. Get on to you and Rob tonight.
Just some more ease.
Limitations.
Okay, anything else, council? City Secretary, when is the next available for us to look at our calendars for a meeting and to give Chris time to email us the stuff and invite him to attend?
I don't think we have many workshops scheduled in the near future. February 3rd is over and that's the next city council meeting. Same with the 17th. In March, we have no workshop scheduled for either meeting item.
Are we trying to implement this for this budget cycle 26-27? Yeah, so then we better do it soon, like the 3rd.
Okay, yes, absolutely.
February? Yeah.
I'm starting to understanding that we're having workshops from now till July.
Which is now for.
Yeah. I figured that we're going from now till budget's done. So that's been wrong.
Okay, so 4 PM, mark it up.
Right?
It's gonna come up on us quick.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Budget.
Oh, budget, yeah, budget.
Oh, yeah.
So nonprofit workshop on that. Would you extend the invitation to Chris to attend?
Yes.
Okay. And hopefully he can get us those documents ahead of time so we can all start digesting them.
I can get you the application. It's on the website.
Oh, okay.
And then the scoring rubric, you'll send it. pretty
Okay.
quickly, Yeah, sure.
All right, good. Is there anything else or are we ready to adjourn? Andrea, did you have anything to add? Because you represent the Family Crisis Center.
Sure, I can say a couple things, if you like.
Sure, okay. You were listening to our discussion here.
Yes, I think you guys are doing a really good job and,
Thank you.
I see not all of them, but most of our grant applications that we do for Family Crisis Center. And, I like the part where you put the additional funding, like what else are the people getting from other places? I think that's really good. At our point of view, that works for us when other founders and, the state sees that the city puts in money as well into our organization, so that really does help. If finances are done detailed enough, you can tell, even though we serve 6 counties, we make sure to keep the money we get from the city to stay in the city. Because that's what it's for, you know, I would feel wrong for it to go anywhere else, because it's for the people of Alpine. What else? You guys are doing a really good job and I'm excited to see this, you know, morph into something else and for people and nonprofits out there to get help and hopefully get more programs out there for people to enjoy.
Right.
And also for the recreation sports, I think that's a really good idea. I don't know if they knew like. If they go through hot tax, would they generally get more money versus going through this process? That's for them to, figure out or judge in that way, depending on the project that they're doing. But other than that, I think that's good.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Anything else, Henry?
Something came to mind because I worked on this, and it's about 20 years ago. And something similar, where council appointed, kind of, loose some members of the community that knew other people in the organizations. And they went out and kind of in discussions, were surveying what are some of the unmet needs here in the community that you don't know unless when these people go out into the corners of the community and then they come back to you and say, well, we've got a list of these. And then, of course, then council took them and said, okay, we need to address these. Just something that came.
Okay. That's very
And,
good.
and then there was called the Unmet Needs, Committee.
Committee,
Yeah.
that's very interesting. Yeah, thank you. City Secretary? Anything else?
No, I think that's all. You all touched on all the points I was concerned about as well. The only other concern was when we put total amount requested, I think they're gonna seem pretty high usually. That happens in hot funding all the time.
Uh-huh.
But in the hot funds process, we have a budget, so we know, they know going in there, we're gonna cut all the requests, and they have to do it. They have to go through each one and make the cuts in order to get everything approved.
Right.
Meet that budget, but, no, I agree with everything y'all said, and I'll work on getting these updates.
Thank you. So we have something to look at February 3rd.
Yes.
All right, anything else? Okay, with that, the workshop is adjourned at 4:49. Yeah. Y'all, yeah.